It is Weekend Deal, and I told you that today we will be going out to find out how far, how well has Nigeria gone. At the end of the day, I said again that it is important, it is imperative, it is paramount to understand who we are. Because if we understand who we are, the ties that binds us together, it is easier then for us to know where we are going to as a nation. Culture, value, ethics, that's the totality of who we are. And that's what we'll keep riding on to get to our destination. Now, let's get to find out what the whole day outlook is like. And as usual, Francis has done a good one. Let's join him on this background.
On 1st October 2021, Nigeria will celebrate our 61st year of political independence. Like many countries, anniversary is a time to reflect on past years' successes and failures, losses and gains in order to reposition and re-strategize for a better and more desirable future results. How have we fared as a nation?
We are happy and we are opportunity to be alive, to see Nigeria clocking 61. If you say I should grade in a level of maybe 1 to 100, I would say we are 50%. That's the average. I would rate our achievement so far. But we still have a lot more to do, especially in terms of security, the economy, fighting corruption, and other things. That this 9th Assembly was the first out of these 22 years to pass the Petroleum Industry Bill, which is now Petroleum Industry Act. It's a milestone that I know it will be remembered in the history of this country, that it was under this administration, under this 9th Assembly, that this Petroleum Industry Bill has been passed, and we're also looking at many other things, especially the diversification of the economy.
As a country, we have come a long way in years and strength, and it will not be too much to celebrate the little wins and victories as we mark our independence.
It's not celebration per se. Of course, we are passing through trying times, but when you look at the world in general, you will realize that in terms of the hunger, in terms of the economy, it has ravaged the whole world because of the COVID-19 and other economic indices. Of course, we are happy that it's now, look at before, the importation, the index of what we've been importing, rice, everything that we eat, we import it. Look at how the pressure it was having on our foreign reserve. If you check the indices in CBN, the intervention CBN is giving in terms of agriculture, look at the rice farming, look at the maize farming, look at the wheat farming, look at the anchor growers. So a lot of intervention has been given to these farmers. And that's why we'll be able to sustain some level of food security. So I think in one way, we should celebrate. In one way, we should look and reflect on how we should correct the future.
The kind of value adopted by a nation greatly determines the level of its development. Any nation that would indeed be great must be established upon enduring national values that binds every individual in the corporate entity.
We don't have any national value. The only national value we have is when we are pursuing common interests. That common interest binds us together. And that same common interest disperses us.
As we prepare to celebrate our 61st independence anniversary, let's begin to look inward by patronizing each other without the bias of tribe, gender, or religion.
We have not been teaching our children right from the secondary school the history. You must know your history. That's when you start building the patriotism. We sing the national anthem on daily basis from primary school on every event. We do the national pledge. But tell me, how many people adhere to that national pledge that are loyal, that they will devote their strength to uphold the honor and glory of this country? Our actions are not speaking well in terms of patriotism to this country. Look at our military that are killed in war front. Are they being celebrated? This is part of the patriotism.
Notwithstanding the challenges confronting the nation, there is a clarion call for all hands to be on deck towards making Nigeria a force to be reckoned with in the Committee of Nations.
I see light at the end of the tunnel. I can tell you the Nigeria of my dream is Nigeria that I want to see us continue to be unified, to make our economy the best, to make our systems work. A corrupt-free Nigeria. This is the Nigeria I want to see.
Our focus on Weekend Deal today will be on Nigeria's journey to nationhood 61 years after. How far have we fared?
All right, I completely agree with you, Honorable. We must know our history. And in doing that, we begin, from the cradle. You talk to your child, tell him about the grandma, the aunties, the country, everything around the world, the history. And history, again, is a subject that back in the days, a lot of people took joy in doing. I did history and I enjoyed every single bit of it. At a point in the nation, we're told that history has been scrapped. I don't know why, but is it okay? Is it not? Should it be returned full time? Now, we are going to look at the necklace of history and its impact on our national development. And that's a lovely feature put together in Ibadan by NTA Ibadan. Let's see it.
Every individual has a root from where he originated. And to know this, history is required. History plays a significant role in the economic and socio-political development of any nation, as it educates citizens on the economic well-being and quality of life of a country, region, or local community. It teaches respect, sacrifices, and struggles of our ancestors. One major role history has played in the Nigerian national life is the achievement of the country's independence. Nigeria's history has provided people of all ages with a better sense of identity as it gives data that is used to create laws and theories about various aspects of the society and tribes.
History is very important to any society or nation because it is through history that we understand our past, where we are coming from, and then where we are, and how to prepare for the future.
As Nigerians, our identity is very important. And that identity should mean that anybody in Nigeria, whether you are from the southwest or from the northwest, you should be able to exist, survive in any other geopolitical zone. And that is the essence of what history stands for. And that is what makes us a nation as we have in Nigeria.
Quite a number of people know little or nothing about the deep history of the country. Most people tend to care less about knowing how the country came into existence, and this is affecting us as a nation. How much then do Nigerians know about our history?
When you look at the youth, maybe people from 30 years and below, they don't know much about our history. But people above that, maybe from 40 and above, maybe because when they were young, they were still teaching history, they were still talking then. Technology has not really taken over everything. So you see back at home, your parents will talk about something, or you listen to radio in the morning, or when you come back, or even in the class you do, in your primary school you do civics education, in your secondary school you do history. But now it's no longer like that. So we really don't know. They even know more about history of foreign countries like the US or the UK than they know about Nigeria.
Many people are calling for war for what is going on in Nigeria today because they don't know much about what we call war. those that war, they have faced war in the time past, we never ever call for war again. Because if anything happen, no one knows the end of what we call war. If we know Nigeria, the past Nigeria, the present Nigeria, and the future of Nigeria, we will know how to build our nation, not to scatter this nation.
You know, part of history is, okay, this is village A. How did this village come to be? How many people know that? They just know that they are living in the village. Who established it? With how many people? They don't know. So we have lost it.
Having identified these shortcomings, what is the way forward from the myriad of challenges?
What we call ethical value, core values. If you don't have and inculcate that into your staff, you are missing it. You think you are getting somewhere. No, you are going nowhere. It's the same thing with a nation. So there's a need for orientation, proper orientation, which I believe Ministry of Information, Education, Youth and Sport can collaborate and do and reorientate and train our youth.
We want to advise that history should be brought back so that we'll be able to know ourselves. We'll be able to know our root. We will be able to know the cause and effects of our actions in the past, the cause and effects of our actions that we are contemplating to have now, and the future implications of our actions.
It is opined that if all Nigerians come together and work as one entity and learn from the past history of events that has happened in the country, the development and unity of Nigeria will be non-negotiable.
Yes, if we do not understand where we are coming from, where we are, we may not be able to project better for our future. For a lot of us who did history, we were able to understand lots of things about different parts of the country, the northern, the southern, the eastern, the west, even the middle belt, without really visiting those places because we read history. And like one of the current respondents said, if we understand what people went through with wars, and that we can do with history, we will not be clamoring for disintegration and war. You know, if it does not happen, because we understand the pain we'll go through. You know, the way Nigeria has come, we've all really come together. If it happens, even if you're alive, you must surely lose one or two persons you love. So we must stay away from it. Now, one of the ways to ensure that we preserve our own is to teach us how to go about it. I'm talking about civic education. What is your responsibility as a Nigerian? What is your responsibility as a patriotic citizen? Thelma Baze did a beautiful report on that. Let's see it and learn from it.
There's nothing you want in this country that you cannot get. Nigeria is a good country since the day of independence. After all, it was heroes past, our forefathers and that fought for the independence of this country. They sacrificed their life, they sacrificed everything to make sure that we have our own independence.
A stellar education is a plus. It exposes the mind to enormous possibilities, and when civic education is added, youths can develop exponentially. It is expected that their impact will be felt in nation building.
The important thing I would say is reinventing civic education, not only in schools, but within the political class and the politicians, the political parties. You know, it should be a project that we must pursue now as a nation. When you teach in the school, the students will learn. But when they go out there, they discover that to cast their vote, to know the government, a lot of things come in between what they have been taught in the school and what is happening out there. For instance, you want to vote, somebody is now telling you, vote for me, not because of what he can offer, but because he has money to give you.
An enabling environment is critical for purposeful learning. This results in dedication and commitment and should give rise to understanding and innovation. Before the advent of Western education, traditional education concerned students with social responsibility as well as guidance for political participation.
Also, we have to equip the students in the school through civic education that they must know that it is only through their vote that they can get the best leader who will take care of national development and the people's interest. Even in the school, there should be, every secondary school, there should be children parliament, where what they are taught in government and civics are practiced. There will be role play, they will dramatize it, they will do it, and they will internalize the values that we are supposed to gain if we practice our democracy well.
Nigeria gained its independence in 1960. After 6 decades and a year, some argue that the impact of civic education is not being felt as much as it ought to be.
There is a massive campaign by the agency concerned that if you do this, this is what will happen. And anybody that does what he's not supposed to do will be punished. That's reinvented. That is the enlightenment now will tell you that, yes, it is not all business as usual.
Our collective conscience can be our guide, especially as we realize that it is what we as a people, as Nigerians, put out there. That is what our children and generations after them will reap.
All right, Weekend Deal, we'll keep bringing it to you. I remember when I went to school, civic education, they taught us all manner of things, how to preserve the flag. In fact, if the national anthem is on and you're not standing still, it was a big caning for you back in the days. And I want to believe that we'll still get there. Because if we capture them young, the children, they grow with it and ensure that they keep Nigeria forefront, keep fellow human beings forefront, even before their own personal self. All right, I have with me a guest who will be helping us understand who we are, our culture, our ethics, and of course, very importantly, our values. He is the Director General of Voice of Nigeria, and he is Mr. Osita Okechukwu. Thank you, sir, for coming to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you, viewers.
I recall that when Nigeria turned, independence, you were quite young, and even though you were quite young at that time, you were in the streets, cheering to the great nation.
I had flag.
You had the flag?
I had flag. I had the cup because my maternal uncle was a teacher.
Oh, really?
So he got married that year, and the wife said I should go with them. So when they go to school, nowhere to be left, so I was forced to be with them. So I'm one of those who could, in all honesty, say that we owe a lot to the country. That in the 60s, it was, you are going to school, your parents, even if they are not there, the other parents will be taking care of you. If you are stubborn as well, because you are not my child, they will beat you. So those rules order are known in the villages. So you can be beaten by anybody. Mm-hmm. And when your father or your mother comes, your father will say, you start feigning cries. You say, what did you do? She cannot beat you for nothing.
Exactly.
But that's not the case today. We now stroll to secondary school. It was also the same states taking care of us. And then at the university level, we were more pampered, that you actually will know that you're a true Nigerian. I remember at a certain point, and I was in year 2, and they wrote at the notice board, if you are going to stay back in the campus doing the VAC job, let us know.
Can you imagine it?
And I applied that I'm staying back. So when it got to my turn, the dean of the student affairs said, Mr. Okechukwu, why are you staying back? You are in year 2 political science. Which project are you doing? I was just trying to dodge, but I said, let me say the truth as usual. I now told him actually that where I'm going is not as good as where I'm staying. And that was it.
When you did that vac job, as you said, in the campus, were you paid for it?
No, you are not paid, but you know, we are paying pittance
Okay.
in terms of hostel fees.
Okay.
The issue of eating, you have your tickets. So we had the best in the country that we owe the country a lot. When some people start saying, oh, we didn't invest, I said, we invested in human capital. There were lots who could not get admission. The federal government of Nigeria also helped them to go to scholarship in various countries of the world. So we cannot say that we have not achieved a lot in our 61 years. Yes, there's a lot to be done. But when I remember, for instance, that in the 60s, we had 1 or 2 universities. By 62, about 3 or 4. But today we have over 200 universities, both federal, state, and privately owned. For me, those are achievements. The same with hospitals, the same with network of roads. If you can now think today that we have now returned to standard gauge rail line, a rail line that has a speed of about 150 kilometers per hour. The one we have today in Ibadan, Mr. President had executed in between Ibadan and Lagos. It then means that somebody can comfortably live in Ibadan and go to work in Lagos, because it's going to get to Lagos in less than an hour. At the end of the job, the day's work, you enter the train again, you're back in Ibadan. So if you have a business to say in Ibadan that is more relaxed than Lagos, you can.
You can do that. Okay. Now, away from infrastructure, I want to get us back to, our culture and our value, because when you were talking, I was actually, thinking deep. I may not have had it as much as you did, but I still recall being beaten, like you said, by people around when I misbehaved, who were not my parents, who were not even related to me. So that need, how did we get it wrong? Because at that point, all of us were conscious of who we are, in terms of our family. Our last name, was very important. You didn't want to mess up your parents' name. How did we change? Where did we get it wrong? A lot of school of thoughts have blamed you on a lot of things, but where exactly did we get it wrong?
No, we didn't actually get it wrong. There's no concept in life that had no advantage or disadvantage. There's the Western culture that penetrated our own culture. There's no way you could have advanced yourself. Today we're near a television station. It wasn't there 100 years ago. It was a Chipawo that introduced to the country back in about 58. So if you benefit that today I'm in your tube, and we're telling millions of Nigerians who are glued to your tube, we're talking to them, that is a plus. Then the other side is that it's an individual society that the West had created. In fact, I was telling them, for instance, when we go to the village, you'll be telling your child, oh, this is your maternal uncle, this one is your paternal uncle, this one is your aunt. So one day my daughter, we were about to go for Christmas. My daughter said she's not going. I said, what's the problem? In fact, it was my wife that first told me that your daughter said he's not going for Xmas. So, and from the eastern side where we come from, everybody, no matter how, you manage to get home. So I called my daughter's attention. I first called my sons. I said, we're going. They said, oh, no. Our sister said we're not going. I will support her. So in a small meeting about why, my daughter said, yeah, people, they don't cook.
They don't cook?
They don't cook.
In the village?
We keep on serving them.
Oh.
We keep on serving them. We serve from morning to night. We won't sleep. We won't even have time to look at the television or do this and do that. So you can go and
but
stay.
That's the fun.
So I told her, I said, they cook. That the culture is that if somebody comes to your house and you give the person food, he fails to taste the food, it's as if you are quarreling with the person. You say, which kind of culture is that? That is another generation of Nigerians. So it is not the issue now with smartphone, YouTube, WhatsApp, Twitter, and others. The people are becoming more individualistic. All we had to do is to train them more to perfect and be prosperous. If there is a shared prosperity, all those crises we are talking today will not be there. And I think we are going to come to that. Outside the insecurity in the land today, which I know will soon abate, if not halted, a lot of people today with the infrastructure program being put in place and the Buhari agrarian revolution might be in their villages doing so well that where you come from the urban center with their new Camry, Mercedes, only to get to the village and see people who have already packed that model of vehicle, you will start to know that we are trying to bridge the gap. People are doing well in the villages these days, except for insecurity. Some have gone into farming. They're no more bothered about coming to city to look for the white-collar job or blue-collar job now.
That's interesting.
The Anchor Borers program, for instance, had settled a lot of people to their villages. Some of their farm had started picking. Some had gone into piggery, some had gone into cattle. They're not making noise about that. And I wish insecurity is tamed. If it is tamed and the next regime continues where President Muhammadu Buhari had stopped, to invest heavily in agriculture and infrastructure, there are no those crises, because part of the crisis actually is a crisis of want.
Okay.
So, but if you start building an economy where we do not all depend on the oil revenue, we can now on our own, either through the ICT being developed or through agriculture or through other small scale and medium enterprises. If you can, it doesn't happen in a day.
Yeah, it takes
But
a while.
I foresee a situation, the rate is going, where the shared prosperity will increase by the day.
That's our whole dream. Everybody should be at least comfortable. Whatever you're doing, you should be able to feed yourself from it. But then, when we speak of that, we also know that if I go to Udi.
Yes.
Udi village, where I know you're from, when you talked about the village.
Udi, yes.
Okay, so I know that you have this strong belief in Onyahana one-year system,
Yes.
the Omonism, so I know it's a strong thing there. And for that to really thrive, which is, for those who do not understand that, it simply means you must carry everybody along.
Your brother's keeper.
You're a brother's keeper. To be able to get that done, you must understand who your brother is, who your senior is, because a state of anarchy, nothing thrives there, and it starts with the first thing we do, which is respecting our elders. You came in here, I almost got up to, bow down to greet you, except for the cables, pulling me down. Now, let's go to see a report that actually spoke about that in details. When we come back, we'll get to find out why are people beginning to say, hi, mom, hi, dad, rather than Ndewo, Ekaro, Sanu. Let's go to Kaduna and see this.
In the olden days, culture and traditions were held with high esteem. Respect for elders was given a very high priority, such that it was very strange for children to talk back at their parents, and an abomination to be disrespectful to an elder. It was also unheard of to disrespect a traditional or religious leaders. But in recent times, respect for elders by the youth is fast eroding. Why is this so?
The key important thing is that when you say respect for the elders, you're talking about mentorship. The spirit of mentorship, mentoring younger generations to pick up from the older generations, have been a very, very elusive situation now. Well, why is it so? It was simply because we lost one, community parenting. In those days, the child is a child. It takes a whole village to rear a child. So, but today, it is my son, my child, to only I to myself. there is generational gap. And that generational gap within Generation X, we, the analog generation, and you, the digital generations, we need to do something up. Because no matter how perfect you have, if you have resources, if you don't have the maturity, the experience to manage it, you're going to fall into the same pit we fall into. And that is the missing link.
So I think the problem is that our young people are disconnected from our own culture because we, who know our values, have not been able to bring them up to know these values. If they don't know, there's no way they can live it out. And so there is a disconnect. And therefore, we need to reconnect, we need to reconnect, we who are the elders, because the best way you can teach people is by example.
Let our people, especially the scholars and the pastors, preach a real preaching of God, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we know in religion there is respect of elders. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Islam said that anybody who does not respect an elderly person is not with me. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said he is not with him. And any elder that has no mercy on those who are below him, the younger ones are not with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it is an obligation, it is a religion, it is mandatory for the both sides to apply what religion has brought to us.
Who should be held accountable for the fast dying culture of respect for elders?
Socialization is the function of the parents. Religion is secondary. Education is secondary. The primary level of socialization is the family, and that's our parents. Let parents take up their responsibilities. Let the home training resume. Let's create time. You can create special timings for you. Yes, we know a lot of things are happening at the same time, but then let's create some time with our children.
The traditional leaders, religious leaders, are given special reference, and they are being considered in everything we do. Unlike now, when you see a traditional leader or a religious leader called, there could be problem. We are only called to come and solve problems. But if the ghost gets better, nobody remember the traditional leaders.
What is the way forward?
We should have a generational dialogue. Let the older folks and the younger folks have a room where we can sit and discuss issues. The young ones should tell us what they don't like about us, and we should also tell them about what we don't like about them. And let's have an equilibrium where we could meet. When the pendulum swings to the left or the right, in the middle, we should stop the pendulum. And that is when we can have a way forward. And religious leaders must wake up to their responsibility, not preaching hate speeches, inciting messages. No, they should have what we call inclusive communication of theology, where I humanize the other humanize me.
Respect for elders is important in every society, as it is through them that the young learn the way of life. As the popular African adage says, those who respect the elderly pave their own road towards success.
Okay, nice one. All right, I quickly remember what a section of one of the holy books said. It said we should respect our elders, our parents, very importantly, because incidentally, it's the only commandment that has promise attached to it. That if you do that, you have a longer life on earth. So I guess it was not for nothing that was embedded, because that's the only way, like the correspondent said, you have to pave your own way, when you get old, for things to happen to you. Now, someone said in that report that we need to sit together and have a conference. What do you not like and what do you like? And I want to ask, how do we achieve that?
Yeah, I listened to what they were saying, and it makes a lot of sense. And as you said, all the scriptures enjoins us to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Those are hallmarks of every society, both the Western society. In fact, when you go abroad, you could see that they are more human than we are. That's why I'm saying that we are on course. All we cannot stay behind technology. Today we are talking of the fourth revolution, which is digital. Nobody can go back. Whether you hate the dynamism of the digital world or you do not like that, it's going to escape. And they are even entering another one. It's just like when they now tell you that you are in 2G of your smartphone, you enter the 3G, the 4G, we're now in 5G.
5G.
You cannot set the 5G back. All we need to do is to get our kids from the basics. Love your neighbor, the golden rule, love your neighbor as you love yourself. You can achieve to your greatest height without injuring another person. You don't need to be crooked to advance. You can advance from your own talent. That God created you as a unique person. All you needed is to tap your own talents to get where you're going. And whichever resources you have, put it to them. Because you can stay today in your house with your kids, and they are skewed to their smartphone or their iPad, and you will think they are sleeping. They are not sleeping.
At all.
They are engaging. So for you to say, you tell them, no, you don't need to listen to this, you don't need to do that, you could do so. It is good to do so. But I'm saying, don't sever relationship with your kids because they are not doing what you did 30, 40 years ago. There's no way they will do so. Luckily for us, all the scriptures, both the Quran, the Bible, they have the golden rule as a standard. And our culture as well do not encourage you to be crooked. It did not encourage you to steal. So you just need to tell them you could achieve the greatest side because you are unique. Almighty God created you with all the talents. If you advance the talent, you can be what you want to be. You don't need to cheat anybody. You don't need to go into Yahoo. We are not saying you shouldn't touch the digital media or digital social media. Touch it, but try and avoid those that are irrelevant and that are sinful. You keep on saying that, but don't disconnect them. Because the more you try to disconnect them, the more you're not helping in Nigerian society. Because the person might have a talent to discover something. Because there are still windows open in the computer.
Oh, definitely.
There's one Nigerian young man, David, that died in the US the other day. He won a job of $125 million to put application at the airports for the safety of the airports. If he converts $125 million, it should be in the neighborhood about 60-something billion. A job he won. He was about to start the job, he died. So there are opportunities for our kids to advance us. We cannot hold them. It is not good to hold them. But just try to leverage on the basics. And the basics is morality.
I want to speak a little bit more to the traditional rulers as well. When people get money within our community, we no longer, like we used to do in the past, what is this person doing to build one house in 3 months, maybe a mansion in 3 months? What is the person doing? Now, the first thing is, oh, this person has arrived. And we start looking for titles to give to the person. If the first one is already done, we can now look for so and so two of this village. We don't query wealth. We don't query source of wealth. Somebody who had nothing in 2 years comes back with money. How do we begin to address that in our society? Because it's not just the traditional ruler. Even those of us who relate with people, you know very well that Elizabeth works here, you know how much I earn, and suddenly I come out big. Shouldn't I be queried? How do we begin to stop that?
I agree with you that, but when you add up, these are what we call the errors of margin. When you measure the errors of margin, the percentage is winning down. Yes, we live in an oil economy where we are doing what is called rent seeking, where with a good contact you could do this, you could do that, but those errors is going as well. So nobody should bother his head about that. And for those who are into Yahoo, they are also very easily caught. Because when you raise your hand phone, you are here, there's what is called the GPS. They know where you're coming from. You tap the button, they know where the button came from. So immediately they track you down. So it's not about the fact that we lived in a place where money is revered or celebrated, but it's coming to an end. That's why I was talking of back to land. Some people have, in their own ingenuity, queued up to the program of the federal government of Nigeria and the states by going back to land. They also become prosperous. And when they become prosperous, you see their farm. And so when you see the farmer who had grown, he runs some hectares of land, and they produce vegetable or whatever, and is prosperous, it becomes a copycat as well. Nigerians are copycats.
Very, very.
Those generation will soon sprout up, and immediately will see what their farm is doing. We're most likely to, and by study, we're not cultivating up to 10% of our arable lands. So it is a huge field of prosperity. So prosperity changes from one time or the other. That's why there was slave trade. Some sold even their children and made money from it, but that era came to an end. So the era you say will soon come to an end, the era of rent seeking in Nigeria.
All right, I
because
really
the oil
forward.
wealth is going. Countries like Germany, and that one approaching about 90-something% on renewable energy. So whereby we do not see them buy much of our fuel.
The oil, yes.
Then you have electric cars that are driven by electricity. So when you have cars driven by electricity, will you buy petrol?
Nope.
So that era is coming to an end. And by nature, people will queue in accordingly. All we're praying for parents in Nigeria is to devote more money in training their children. Good education, good education, good education.
All right,
Please don't
thank
keep
you.
them away from school. Do whatever you can to keep them in school. It is the way out.
Thank you very much. Coming from where you came from, we understand completely when you speak that good education, it's imperative. And while we speak of education, it is not just about the money you spend. It is also your time, quality time, family time. That's where the value, gets reinculcated, so to speak. Thank you very much for coming on the show. As usual, bringing on the table your A-game as the Director General of Voice of Nigeria, Mr. Osita. Okay, Chukwu, thank you very much, sir.
I appreciate it.
All right. So right about now, we'll take a break. When we come back, more in store for you. Don't go away. Weekend Deal is still on, and some mails and questions and contributions are coming in. Let's see if we just take one more before we move to the next feature for you. It says history is an integral part of our life. Unfortunately, embracing foreign culture, inability to continue with family bond has led to collapse of value system. This is coming in from Ilori, Kwara State, and the writer is Akin Ololade. Okay, so it says embracing foreign culture. I actually think our guest who just left said if you go to the foreign places, they are more humane than we are. I don't know. I live in Nigeria. So, but if they are like that, then it should actually be a plus for us if we embrace their culture. Let's all the same know where we are. If we're picking something from outside, it should be the positive, not negative. And that comes, again, if we have strong foundation to be able to decipher what is right and what is wrong. Now, when we talk about our culture, who we are, who we want to project ourselves to be, a lot of times it's best not to talk. We just look at it from the visual impression angle. Let's join Ijoma and see the arts of who we are.
The Nigeria's creative industry has evolved in the last 6 decades, from arts and craft to stage performances and the entire value chain of the entertainment industry. Numerous successes have been recorded in these sectors of Nigeria's cultural sphere, with emphasis on the modern visual art. Tracing back to the beginning of Nigeria's independence in 1960, Nigerian artists have used the instrument of visual art to create national identity, promote cultural diplomacy across the shores of Africa, and document our collective history. This was what climaxed into Nigeria hosting the Festival of Arts and Culture in 1977, a one-month-long event that celebrated Africa's culture in music, art, literature, drama, dance, and religion.
Everybody's basic expression is a form of art. Art is life, life is art. And so the best way to communicate everything, everything you do is a form of art.
Today, the narratives are progressing. Nigerian visual artists are moving from what we used to know about conventional art to new and innovative trends in visual art through unlimited partnerships with international organizations.
UNESCO has been, very, very, very instrumental in helping in the preservation of art and our heritage sites. And so we also have the International Committee on Museums that regulates or that puts forward the parameters for art collections, art preservation, documentation policies, and so on. And Nigeria is a member of ICOM, and that helps us to stem the theft.
Since Nigeria's independence, artists and their works have continued to grow both in techniques and presentation. They are becoming more and more relevant in the socio-political and economic sector, as well as a potential instrument for change and therapy in the face of daunting security challenges.
Art as, a large dance, music, the visual arts, it's being used now for therapy. Like the ones who have gone to the war front, they dealing with the insecurity in the northeast and all of that. They see a lot of maybe children who are decapitated and all of that. So art is actually, a very, very veritable and, very effective means of taking them through therapy. You find that by the time they do 1, 2, 3 sessions, you find that they are able to cope.
My work is at the intersection of art and mental health. So what I look at in my work is basically how can this work speak out for me and bring healing to the lives of people who work with it, look at it, and handle it.
As the country gears towards celebrating her 61st independence, it is worthy of note that Nigerian artists are focusing attention on environmental art. This is a form of artistic practice that promotes environmental sustainability by using material waste to create artworks that are exceptionally beautiful, sustainable, and marketable.
So the idea is that waste is a huge industry that can yield money, that can yield employment. But we haven't gotten to that yet. And that's why environmental artists are using these materials to say, look, can we change our narrative on how we manage waste and see how we can actually use it to create employment? Because we need to be able to take care of the waste that we generate. So when environmental artists engage the public, they are more or less trying to say, look, can we be more conscious about our environment?
All these and more can be sustained through effective policy of identification, collection, and documentation of outstanding works of art in Nigeria's art gallery for future and economic purposes.
Early in the morning I will seek you and I know I'll find you, 'cause 'cause you said that if I seek, I will find. Your presence is the only thing I'll chase with all my heart. I know without a doubt that there's nowhere else better. So I'll roll out the drums and I'll start to sing, stamping my feet, 'cause you're something good. You're something right, something special in my life. All of my days I want to praise you with every beat of my heart, 'cause I know that your word is true. You are something good, something right, something special in my life.
Wow, 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 wow. I didn't ask you to stop.
Oh dear. I want to have as much time with you as possible.
Okay, so that means we'll still go back there again. You know,
Definitely.
it's always fun. The first time we met, it was in a different scenario. But I remember at the end of the day, you still played something. And it was fun. You did. You think I'll forget? You did. I didn't want to come to that. By the way, my guests, you know, when you know people, you think everybody. My guest is John Bemdo Sa, best known as Ben Sa. He is a whole lot of things put together. You are a songwriter.
Yep.
You're a composer.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say this other one, but I'm not sure if I want to say it. He's a special chef. You
Very
cook,
true.
yes.
And that would be my second occupation if I wasn't so obsessed with this.
Okay, but even at that, you never left cooking. You're still cooking.
No, I do. I cook for my children every time I can.
Okay, because I remember you cooked for us some time ago on Guest Chef. And I was like,
ago.
and I was like, this man, what's he doing? And you were doing it so effortlessly. But let's go to your music.
Yeah.
You know, you've been on it since 1995, am I right?
That's when I started songwriting, yes.
Okay. Okay, so how far have you gone with it?
A lot of water has gone over the dam on that account. I have a few records and played for different people. Well, I guess the biggest thing that I would say that I've done was the Nigeria at 50 celebrations when I performed for 40 sitting presidents. I guess that was it. My dream was to play for one president and I got 40 at
You got 40 at a time. Okay, for this time you're going to get, you got 50, you got 40, right? Okay, very soon we're going to give you like 50.
Only.
You know? Let's add 10 now. Let's add 10.
Thank you.
But generally,
generous
you played for Nigeria at 50 and it was amazing. I know NTA carried it on live and it was good. Now, I want, after 11 years, I want you to access a little bit of, you know, music industry as of today. Are we really there?
I don't think anybody is there. I have a few friends in the U.S., you know, who work in the U.S. music industry, and they also have similar complaints that a lot of us do have here. The industry is not very structured and regulated, but by reason of the iron environment, there's a fair amount of structure. We're getting there here in Nigeria, but it's still a long way off.
Beyond structure, what do you think we can add to it to help us get there faster?
Well, I guess if people paid more attention to their content, you know, I mean, to what kind of legacy they would like to leave behind, then maybe would be a bit more, how would I say, focused, more direct, more intentional, more developmental minded about these things, because the industry is now flooded by a lot of people who have some change. You know, they can make the music in their bedroom and then flood the internet with it. And so there's no control, there are no regulations, we do not have any filtering systems for quality in various realms of the industry. And I hang more on the message of things. I always tell people who look up to me, and maybe I get the chance to talk to, that every song is your 5 minutes granted to address the world. You know, so what are you going to waste it on? You know?
That's very important. Yeah. And speaking of 5 minutes to address the world is looking at you now, and the world is, ushering Nigeria into 61. What message would you give to Nigeria at 61 within, not 5 minutes now, 2 minutes, with your music?
Young people are naturally
passionate.
Exuberant. I mean, they have this restless energy. It just needs to be redirected.
Properly.
So I just think we need better examples. I mean, if the 419, the Yahoo boys did not display the examples of their own success, their own brand of success, people wouldn't have turned to it, you know. But if the other stable institutions had been set up and they could find free course through it, then we'll probably have more people going in that direction.
All right, definitely. Nigerians are doing great, both in Nigeria and even outside Nigeria. I think, just as you said, we should bring it up, more, so that people get to see that there are people who are following the right path and doing well. And you're still owing me that music. So while you play, I'll just be waving bye-bye to Nigerians. Thank you, Bensa.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so I'm waiting for that song.
Meanwhile, this is my anniversary here also. I think I was the very first guest on Weekend Deal.
Wow, Weekend Deal!
Here comes Nigeria, the age covered in gold. Sweetheart of Africa, filled with riches untold. Through thick and thin, trials and troubles. When they thought that she would fall, we would not crumble. Let's hear it for Nigeria, motherland, beautiful Nigeria. Stand up tall, keep holding on, 'cause all in all, you are wonderful. Good people, great nation, believe in her, it is possible. The dream that she is powerful. Let's hear it for Nigeria, oh motherland, beautiful Nigeria. Stand up tall, keep holding on, 'cause all in all, you are wonderful. Good people, great nation, believe in her, it is possible. The dream that she is, oh, powerful. Let's hear